Here we go. Welcome to Double Dribble Bucks. I am Seth. With me, as always, is my good friend Brett. How you doing tonight, Brett?
That's how I'm feeling, Seth. I think for collectively everybody, it's just a big, what's going on? We need to dive into it. We need to figure out what's going on because this is not the Bucks team that I think we expected. I think we expected to lose one game. To be down 2-0 and looking the way we're looking just doesn't feel right. I don't know. It's not over, but I don't know. A big sigh at this point.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we can point to and give ourselves some optimism is we were down 0-2 to Brooklyn, and I think we were down by 50 points at one point in Game 2 against Brooklyn. Just looked horrible. There is a little bit of a situation there. I think Kyrie Irving got hurt maybe the end of that game, maybe beginning of Game 3, something like that. So an injury was in play there, but we looked like we had no chance, and then we came back and won that series. We were also down 0-2 against the Suns in the championship series, won 4 straight. So we've seen it happen. We've seen Giannis do this. Obviously a much different team. It's Giannis, Brook, and PC. That's the only remaining members from that team, I believe.
And Bobby.
And Bobby. Okay, you're right. So 3 guys who play a lot. Maybe I said that because I only want 2 of them to be playing. Anyhow, we've been here before, and we've looked horrible, and came back the next game, won that series. So it's definitely possible. We need to keep our heads up, and I guess let's dig into it a little bit here. What's your first takeaway? What do you want to start with?
Okay, so I'm going to start saying that, so Ashley was telling me today that she saw a clip that apparently Dame and Giannis were talking after the game, and Dame said something like, we need Thanasis back. And I don't know how true that is. I didn't see it, so I'm just basing it on what you said. But there is a whole lot to it, because the reality is, we've talked about this a little bit before, Thanasis is a guy that brings tremendous energy to this team. Even when he's courtside, it's a big deal. And this guy, Thanasis, is incredibly likable. I mean, when they played the Lakers, we saw that Luka was jarring with them, and they were having a great time. But Thanasis is the guy that, gets people pumped up. The year we won it all, we had Thanasis, but we also had PJ Tucker, a guy that had to remind everybody that they had that dog in them, right? We are severely lacking something like that. One of the things I like about the Dame and Giannis connection is they're both very basketball serious business. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to have anything other than a winning record. What's the whole point of doing this if we're not going to win at all? But they're lacking somebody to bring some fire to this team. I saw things that were it's about time that Dame was at least talking back to Halliburton after that first game, because in the past the Bucks have just kind of let these teams talk to them and let their play do the talking. And a huge part of me likes that. But at the same time, who on our team brings this fire to remind these guys, you're a good team, you can win, you can do all these types of things, the motivation. I don't think Doc has it. Giannis has never had it. I mean, he does what he does on the court, and that tries to get people fired up. Bobby is the closest we've ever had to it, but Bobby's also kind of worried about getting teed up and getting thrown out and some of these types of things. We're really missing this high energy person, and I think that's a huge part of it that gets us motivated, because this team just seems like they're a little bit walking through the motions at times. I don't feel like there's that energy. I mean, you look at the Pacers, and they came out ready to go. During the regular season, we won the series. Should have been a complete sweep, but we had that one game that we lost on that Halliburton miracle 3 and the free throw to win it all. But we dominated the Pacers all year, and then we come out here and we look like the weak team, like we shouldn't be there. Something's missing, and I think a huge part of that is some fire. And I would love to see where that's going to come from, because that is something that's missing as of right now.
Yeah, I think that speaks to how they play. Also, it's not just yelling and bumping into guys like that. That's a part of it. It's kind of starting something. Like Bobby might, talk to the other team, kind of a lot of trash talk. I think those are all some elements of being a dog for sure. But also making certain types of plays, and I think is actually a more important part. Making all the hustle plays, guarding a guy full court, diving, winning the loose balls, saving a ball that everyone thought had no chance. All these kinds of plays. Like, actually, if you remember the Minnesota game, KPJ had like 4 steals in 4 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Which leads to dunks and, big plays. So just like, there's not enough excitement plays happening with the Bucks all season. They just don't have those players or / don't play those players. And there is something to that. That's not nothing. And also the plays I'm talking about actually lead to points. They lead to, taking the ball away from the other team and scoring points, like basically winning games. These are winning plays that are being made that the Bucks are just not making. And so the margin for error just kind of gets smaller if you're not going to be making these little plays, if you're not going to be making deflections, getting more blocks, getting more steals, all this kind of stuff. The Bucks just don't have that. Bobby gives us rebounding. That's kind of a part of hustle play, kind of what we're talking about a little bit. So it's not like there's literally nothing, but there's not enough of it at all. Outside of Bobby and KPJ, who's currently playing on this roster, there's really, you don't get much of that. Giannis every once in a while for sure. But yeah, you just don't see a lot of that. Like AJ Green is a pretty solid defender. He's a great player. I want him to play like 35 minutes a game here. But he's not that guy. So, it's not like everyone's going to be that guy. But we don't seem to have enough of them. We don't seem to have enough of those kind of excitement plays that really change, how a game is going.
Well, you don't need and you don't want everybody to be that guy. You just need somebody to kind of remind you like what's going on. And I think that's the challenge is like, you look at the play. Bobby will get a rebound and he'll have some attitude with that rebound, like to show like this is mine and we have some thing. And then you'll have Giannis go down there and he'll drive and he'll have a nice layup and it's some, big forceful thing, or it'll even end with a dunk and there's some fire there. But like, who's the guy on the sideline that's like, let's get these guys a bunch of bitches. Like that's what I need. I need somebody to remind these guys like in that moment, like that you can do that. And I think the problem is, you look at the top 2 coaches, Ham and Rivers, and they're pretty chill dudes. That's their style. They sit on the bench, which infuriates me when we're losing to see both of them sitting there sipping water and being like, whatever. I need something. You look over at PC sitting on the floor. It's like, okay, fine. You got a lot of young guys that don't feel like that's their place. It's like, who on this team is bringing anything to this? Like, you can't just play your game, because the Pacers, if the Pacers were just playing their game, this would be over and the Bucks would win. The problem is the Pacers aren't playing their game. They're playing a different level of a game. They're coming out ready to punch us in the mouth, which they did. They go out there and say, you guys suck, to our face. You suck.
Yeah.
This is the team that the Pacers have never won a championship. We have. We own the Pacers all year, and the Pacers still look at us and go, you suck. And we're like, yeah, we'll show you. No, that's not enough. I'm sorry, it's not enough. Fucking do something. Do something else. I don't know what it is, but there's no energy. There's no fire. There's no, you talk about KPJ. Some of these games, like, he's getting multiple steals, and it's all at the end of the game. Like, these crunch time minutes, fourth quarter, 5 minutes left, and he's getting 2-3 steals to end this thing. There could be something. Marcus talked about it, that he's a little nervous, and that could be part of it. These crowds are different. The game is different. Everybody's playing at a higher level, more minutes. It's not a typical rotation. And I'm seeing glimpses of it, but I think that's the thing where you still need that veteran person to be like, look, chill out, dude. Like, this is just a game. Like, this is the game. This is the game to get to the game to get to the game. Like, you can't get nervous yet. We're not even in it. Like, this is just like, shit, Miami is a 10 seed playing game and they're still in it. We can't be the equivalent of fucking Miami. Like that's not it. Like be better, and that's to me the by far the glaring issue. Well, one of many that we're going to dive into, but that's a huge thing right off the bat.
Yeah, well, we can jump into maybe the most obvious one, which when the series first started, we have a text chain. Someone texted out the starting lineup, and I was upset, and I said TP wouldn't even be in my playoff rotation. Okay, before game one, some guy in Wisconsin who sells houses for a living and does a podcast with his friend, he knows this before the series starts. TP's not good enough. Shouldn't be starting, shouldn't even be playing in this rotation in the playoffs, because I'd rather those minutes go to Trent and Green. Or even maybe a Rollins for some better defense. Or, of course, maybe Ajax to get some defense and some of those hustle plays. Anyhow, it's just
take a drink for those of you who are listening and playing the Ajax drinking game.
That's right. Yes. So the starting lineup, everyone's talking about it now, but everyone was talking about it after game one. A lot of people, including me, were talking about it before the series started. It's so obvious. It's just, and it's not just TP. That's just one of them. Okay. You also have Brook Lopez, which dating back to last year, we played these same Pacers in the playoffs. Same things were going on. We're talking about it. We're talking about we need an athletic big who can play these minutes. Oh, look, they actually did it. Horst actually doing his job. He gets Sims. I'm amazed Doc's playing Sims. At least he's playing him. But it's like, okay, you know what? You need to not play Brook and not start him for 8 minutes or whatever you're doing and then you come back in the third quarter after you get blitzed. In the second game, you got blitzed now 3 times. First quarter, third quarter. Here we are again. You keep bringing it out. It's just mind-boggling that you would keep doing it. And now we're down 0-2. Now there's finally some talk about how maybe we're going to look at some things and maybe make some changes. But no, you couldn't do that after game one. This is the playoffs. Okay, if you lose 4, you're done. There might be a game where Indiana comes out and shoots 65% from 3, and there's kind of nothing we can do. It's like you don't want to give away games, and Doc Rivers just gave away, in my opinion, 2 games. Everyone should agree he gave away game 2. He just pulled out the same shitty rotations like some moron who didn't watch them play basketball all season. And I don't know. It's again, can you fire a guy during the playoffs? Because that's what should have happened.
You should. And we make the joke that Doc has his head up his ass and that he's either playing chess and we're all playing checkers, or he's an idiot. The reality is if he's playing chess, we'd be at least tied on this series. But we're down 2-0, so he's an idiot. This guy somehow won a championship and is going to ride his entire career on it. I understand you've had a lot of playoff experience. You've had a lot of... But the narrative that most people have is that you lose the big games. You know, what does Doc have, like the all-time losiest?
3-1, I think.
Yeah, 3-1, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And losiest, by the way, is a word I just used.
Yeah, that's a good word.
But, clearly, I don't know what we're doing with this guy. Like, you start the lineup that, to your point, people in Wisconsin that, watch a lot of basketball but are not living and breathing, and the only thing we focus about is the tens of millions of dollars we get to actually lead the team, could say, don't start this fucking lineup. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to start the lineup. I know what I'm doing. So the lineup comes out, and they look terrible, and then the entire state of Wisconsin goes, I told you. And he's like, you're right. You're right. How about we take a break, and then I'll just go right back to it. And it's like, no, don't do that. So we're watching game 2, and Ashley goes, Brooks should not be in this game. It's very clear. Like, he's just too slow. He doesn't make sense. Like, I hope Brooke doesn't stay in this game. And this was during a period where after he'd played X number of minutes in the first quarter, he was out, and he was out for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like, holy shit, someone got into Doc and realized, hey, this isn't let's hate on Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez is great for what he does when he does it. But this is not the series. We've talked about this. It doesn't make sense. to be in this game, and you got to get past that. So halftime comes around, and we build a little bit of a comeback, and the same fucking lineup is out there, and not only is the same lineup out there, he's like, you know what? I believe in this shitty lineup so much, I'm going to play him the whole fucking third quarter. Because I'm an idiot. Like, he's like, at this point, there's no redeeming quality, because you could literally, maybe this is what the Lakers finally realized. Take somebody that does a fucking podcast, knows more than these jackasses that have been leading these fucking things. You should know that you shouldn't be playing Brook. Brook should be able to say, I am not the guy for this series.
Yeah.
And TP should be saying, yeah, my role isn't in this series. And they're just sitting there being like, yeah, man, you're the coach. Whatever. Let's just fucking whatever. I don't know. Fuck it. Just like, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. It's so dumb.
It is. Yeah. It is really dumb. Well, let's get into why it's so dumb. So, I'm not alone on TP, but not everyone agrees with me on TP for the whole season, especially. But I guess my main argument with TP is, I guess, a couple things. One is, I blatantly just think he's not that great, and he's not as good as Gary Trent Jr. or AJ Green. And give all of his minutes to those guys. Those guys aren't playing 35, 40 minutes. It's like, I'd rather they just play 35, 40 minutes and TP gets nothing. So that's my main thing. But secondly, you have TP at the 2. He's not a 2. He's not a good perimeter defender. And like you said, especially Indiana, maybe there's other teams where it wouldn't be so bad, but when you have Indiana and these fast guys and they're whipping the ball around, it's like, that's what TP is really bad at. So not only is he not a good perimeter defender, but I think he gets lost on defense a lot. He seems lazy out there, honestly, when you kind of watch him make the rotations. I don't think he's that good. That's my thing on TP. Okay, Kuzma. Kuzma, I think, has a role. I think he should play minutes. But I think he should play as many minutes not with Giannis. He's kind of like a mini Giannis. Obviously much worse. But he plays... he plays kind of a similar brand of basketball as Giannis does. Cutting to the rim, transition. He's actually a really good finisher around the rim, even though sometimes he looks like a total fool out there. He does have, statistically, he's better than average and pretty good around the rim. But he's not a good shooter anywhere else. Unfortunately, he doesn't have Giannis's mid-range game either, but also bad at threes. But he he can take it to the rim. But this is why you don't want Kuzma with Giannis, is because the lineup that we've all loved, it's Giannis and 4 guys who can run and shoot.
Yeah.
And this goes back to Jason Kidd days, where it's like, hey, let's have Giannis be the point guard and let's have 4 shooters around, spread the court. I mean, it's like everyone knows this forever. I don't know if we're forgetting it. Things have gotten, 4D chess or something with Doc Rivers. I'm not sure, but you have Kuzma out there. Now you're not spreading the court. Now the lane's more congested. Now Giannis can't do Giannis stuff as easily as he typically does, and therefore that lineup isn't as good. It's just pretty obvious. And Kuzma, meanwhile, is limited. He's not doing what he's good at, because now you have him as a spot up shooter. He sucks at that, and he makes cuts. Sometimes he'll cut into Giannis because they do the same thing. He literally took over Giannis's spot the other day. So it's just, you're not maximizing talent here. Kuzma's not a bad player. You need to play him when Giannis is out. Maybe there's a pretty good second lineup here when Giannis is out. Maybe that's something that we could find, Also, maybe don't sit Dame and Giannis at the same time in the playoffs. I don't know. Just, brainstorming, just throwing out ideas here. And then the third thing is Brook. We all know why Brook shouldn't play. Okay, so Brook, Kuz, and TP, none of them should start. It's been obvious forever. That's what I see. Anything to add, or what do you have to? What do you got for me?
No, it is obvious. And in fact, I even used our good friends at AI to ask, like, is there any reason to start? And I said, outside of pride. And they're like, well, there could be contract implications. But, as far as game plan or like actual, like anything, no, there's no reason to start over not start. If it's up for your next contract or something like that, yeah, I get it. Like you have this belief that you're a bigger person than you are, or that you're more important to the team if you start or something like that. But like, I mean, I really am starting to think that, like, when you're young and you're following basketball for the first time, you start to think like, I don't really understand what the coach does. Like, I don't get it, right? And then you get older and you're like, well, actually, the coach does a lot. But then you watch Bucks playoff basketball, and you gotta go back and be like, I don't think the coach does anything. I really don't. I don't think he, like, I don't even know if he's ever watched basketball, played basketball. And here's a guy that has literally played basketball and coached basketball his entire life, and the guy is so fucking dumb that he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I mean, he has to be trying to get fired, or he has to be trying to do something, because there's no way in hell. If this guy comes out with the same lineup for game 3, I don't even know what to think anymore. Like, I mean, I swear to God, like, this guy, you kind of nailed it. Kuzma is not a bad player, but the same thing as TP is not a bad player. They just don't fit in the way that we're doing things the way that we need to do it. It's the same reason that we've had the same conversation that our punching bag of Obi Toppin is the fucking guy that comes in there and has a significant role for the Pacers. I'm not saying Obi Toppin is a bad player. He's super athletic, but that guy should not be getting minutes on most teams. He's fine. He kicked my ass. Yes, I understand that. But, I mean, the Pacers are full of Halliburton, overrated, bitch player. We all know that. Nembhard, Naismith, like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, they're not making all-star teams, and they go out there and they look like they are ready to get max contracts from any team that will talk to them. The problem is it's only against the Bucks, and you don't have a single person on your bench of 20 coaches that know that have any idea of these obvious things that people can look at that say, Brooks a great player, not in this series. TP is a great player, not in this series. We need to be doing this. We need to be, and they just sit there and be like, you know what? I think the same thing over and over again will eventually just click. You watch a game and you have the announcers and they say the obvious. Well, the Pacers can't shoot 89% all game. Yeah, they can't, and they won't. But they might shoot 85, and that's terrible. Like, it's not working. Do something. Like, don't just sit there and be like, well, hey, I told you they wouldn't shoot 89%. Well, look, good for you. Like, what the fuck? Like, you nailed it. Yeah, you're right. You still didn't do anything to fix it. You played the same shitty lineup for third quarter. Doc is so bad at his job at this point in time that I don't really know what to think, outside of the fact that if we don't fire him mid-series, I don't know if there's a saving grace at this point. If you're either going to have, if Giannis and Dame can meet with this guy and be like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about, then maybe we should question them. Because name a single thing that Doc has done that you're like, yeah, it makes sense, I get it. I don't know if we can point to one right now. You're getting crushed by Andrew Nembhard or whatever his name is. Like, nobody even knows. Outside of the Pacers, they don't even know who he is. This guy's never going to play for another team. He's going to hold on for dear life to stay with the Pacers because that's the only job he knows how to do. Play for the Pacers and beat the Bucks. That's all we need him for. You're never going to hear from that guy again.
And one thing I love about the NBA playoffs is it's 7-game series, and you make adjustments from game to game, and you see what the other team's doing, you adjust to it. And I'm talking about like strategies, like, oh, they're doing pick and roll. How are you going to defend the pick and roll? You're going to do this guy? Okay, well, let's switch. Let's have Brook on Neesmith instead of on Miles Turner or whatever. Because then when they set the pick, he's not going to be in the action.
Yeah,
all that kind of talk. What sucks is we're not even having that discussion. Our discussion is so simple. It's just like, don't play those fucking guys. Play these guys. It's like, and I honestly think like if you just started the guys who should start and played the guys who should play, I think we would at least be tied 1-1. And with no strategy stuff, all the strategy stuff is the same. Like it's just stop self-sabotaging our team. That is what you are doing. And by the way, so I guess we can get a little bit into the strategy. Part of the problem is that our switching defense is better. That's what's better. Oh, do you hear the echo? Good. I think it's gone.
I think it was my headphones.
Okay. The switching defense has been better. That's our Bobby at 5 lineups. They've been switching. The drop coverage was a disaster. And then they actually, so the starting lineup is playing the drop because they're not a switchable defense. And so we obviously figured that out after game 1. So then it comes out game 2 and they play like a zone and they tried switching too. And it's just like, this isn't the lineup to do what you need to do against Indiana. Why are you trying to force the issue? So it's like, there is some strategy. We are kind of thinking about it, but then we're putting out personnel that don't fit the strategy just for loyalty's sake? Or did he honestly like go through in his mind like different options and actually settle on, yeah, this is the best starting 5? Like, did he really, after game, he had 2 full days between game 1 and 2. And he actually concluded, I'm going to throw out the same guys for 8 minutes, the first quarter and the third quarter. And I'm going to finish the second quarter with them. And thankfully, they actually played okay in that little span. But like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. But to my main point, it's frustrating that there's so little strategy talk, and it's all just about the lineups and like playing guys who play. Like Green played like 12 minutes, I think, yesterday. Like, what the hell's going on?
Do you watch any of the press conferences or news? Because like where I am, they don't cover the Bucks at all. Like, you're lucky if you get 30 seconds of what happened. Like, even if they win it all, it'll be like, and the Bucks won. Anyway, back to the Packers. All Packers all the time. That's all they care about. But like, is any reporters have the balls to talk to Doc and ask him some of these questions? Because like, it's the most obvious question to say, why do you continue to do the same thing when it clearly isn't working and everybody can see it? I mean, I think Rick Carlisle is only coaching knowing the fact that Doc's an idiot. Like, all he has to do is be like, well, this guy, let me think of what the dumbest person would do, and I'll coach against that. Like, oh, you know what? I would probably play my slow big guy against a bunch of athletic guys, and then I'd play a shitty defender at the 2 when I have like a pretty good like series of guards out there. So I'll just like, that's what an idiot would do. So I'll just put out a lineup that combats that. So like, did like reporters actually challenge Doc on any of this stuff?
No, I have seen the past couple games, the Doc interviews. And yeah, I don't know if they're too afraid. You know, they're building relationships over a whole sea. They're like beat writers, right? So I think they're too afraid to, you know, to upset Doc. Maybe he would have some power over the situation, or I don't know. Whatever it is, I think they're too upset because they're actually I would say overly nice. In addition to that, they don't even get I don't think one guy got a full question out. They start asking the question, and then Doc Rivers just interrupts them as soon as he possibly can. As soon as he assumes he knows what they're going to ask, then he just takes over. You know, and so I don't think one person literally got their full question out. So maybe they would have kind of had some edge to it, or some more direct question about, you know, like, maybe should Brooke not start next game? You know, like maybe they were going to lead to that. But yeah, none of them got to the end of their question. And Doc was, you know, they don't want to be there. Like Rick Carlisle was the same way, and he just won. But they both, the coaches, don't want to be there. They're only like 5 minutes long. Like, these aren't long press conferences, just like a few questions. And then the coach just kind of ends it. Like Rick Carlisle, I don't know if you saw that. He was asked about Halliburton being the most overrated. And he got like upset about it. I mean, actually what he said was a pretty great answer. And he mentioned how Giannis was like on that list and just said, you know, it's a stupid, this is bullshit. But he answered that question. He kind of like got all riled up and he was like, I'm done. And he just left. It's like, all right, I guess I don't know what they're obligated to do, but Seems like they can kind of storm off when they want to. But you don't get much out of them. What you get out of it is after game 1, Doc answered the lineup question and was basically like, you could tell he was going to run out the same lineup. He like defended it and, excused it with, I don't even know what he was saying. He was saying like they were good all year. They've been good all season. Like, okay, that's not now. Anyhow, just saying stupid shit doesn't, just to answer the question. But you get the idea. So the first game post-conference, you got the idea. He's sticking with this lineup. Unbelievable. Second game, he got the lineup question. It sounds like he's going to change it. He's like, we got to look at the tape. We might need to make some changes. I don't know what he said exactly. He certainly didn't say we're making a change, but that's kind of the impression you got. So I guess that is some optimism. It was basically the same question, and it was definitely a different answer. One more thing on the press conference thing. I've complained about this before, where Doc will answer, where we have a bad defensive game, gets the question, and he will blame the offense for the bad defense. I feel like, no, right? I've complained because he says this a lot. He said that after game 1. Like, really? You honestly think that's the problem? We gave like 68 points in the first half. It's just, we had a run there where we were scoring. Like, it doesn't make sense. And actually, Eric Neem wrote an article how that's not right. It's not correct. He like went through the stats, like the timeline, like here we were scoring. And the point being is like, basically Doc's wrong. Obviously he's wrong. It's a fucking stupid thing to say. But secondly, the stats backed up that he's wrong. And like, that's actually kind of troubling. Like, hey, your defense is bad. Maybe focus on the defense, not the offense. Maybe we need to improve the defense. Maybe we shouldn't put our lineups out there that aren't switchable or XYZ. Lots of things we could be doing, but no, let's focus on our offense. Like, he wants to win a game 140 to 125. Is that what he wants? I don't get it.
I think like, I have 2 comments on this. So number 1, I listened to a great interview that I sent you on Barstool Sports, which I'm becoming more and more of a fan of because they genuinely like sports a million times more than ESPN. Take a drink if you were waiting for Brett to rip on ESPN. But they interviewed Matt LaFleur, and they asked him the questions that people want to ask Matt LaFleur. They're like, okay, you're friends in the league. When another team drafts a player, like, do you give him shit? Or he's like, oh, no, normally we're just like, oh, good job. He's like, they're like, next time be like, ooh, wow, what a reach. We had like a 5th round grade on that guy and just mess with the people. He's like, oh, I might do that. That's a great question. Like, I would expect, like, if you were the GM of a team and I was a GM of another team, I'd be like, Seth, oh, ouch. Like, that was a big reach. Why would you do like mess with the guy, right? But on the opposite end, we have reporters in Milwaukee that are like, well, I don't want to upset Doc Rivers. Oh, no, poor guy. Look, grow a fucking pair and ask him a question. Get to the point. Stop, like, getting all wherever you are. But, the other thing is, like, Doc with his offense comments, which we all know are wrong. But it's like, okay, you talk about Kuzma. Okay, Kuzma had his first game, or the first game of the season, where he didn't record a single stat. He played very long time. Now, in some of those situations, like, the stats can be misleading. You look at, like, somebody like Dennis Rodman, who would go out there and get 30 rebounds and no other stat. And it's like, okay, that was a significant game that he had. He did other things. Having 0 across the board, yeah, it probably seems a little whatever. But to answer that question by saying, well, you got to give Kuzma some more shots.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay.
Wow.
So, like, at best, Kuzma's your 3rd scoring option. At best. And I don't even know if that's real. Because Kuzma, I'm not dogging on Kuzma. He's got a game. We talked about that thing. But he is not the 3rd option. Like that, he is not filling the Chris Middleton role. He's filling a different role. Yep. I would say the 3rd scoring option is going to be the combo of AJ Green or Trent Green or whoever is going to be our 3-point shooter in that moment. So to come out there and be like, well, the problem was we didn't get Kuzma started. Are you fucking kidding me? That has never been anything that anybody has said in the history of Kyle Kuzma's career. I don't care if he was in AAU games and he was a foot taller than the rest of the people. The coach wasn't saying Kyle Kuzma's got to shoot more. No, that's not how it happens. So it goes back to the hatred of Doc being like, you literally might have your head stuck up your ass. Like, you might be the dumbest person that's ever coached in this league. And it really sucks that you're coaching my team to be this thing. Because the reason you didn't lose game one is it has nothing to do with the fact that Kyle Kuzma couldn't make a fucking shot. Like, Marcus Johnson, one of the greatest Bucks of all time, was like, all right, like trying to make the Kuzma thing a thing in game two. All right, you get the first shots out of you, maybe he's in his head, whatever. Kuzma scored 12 points. We still lost. So, like, what's your answer? Like, Kuzma's got to get 50? Has Kuzma ever had 50? Like, what's your plan here? Like, it makes you look even dumber when Kuzma gets his 12 points, which is great. 12 points from a guy in a playoff game, like, that's awesome. Like, let's get it. That's not the reason you're going to win or lose a game. Like, I mean, it really just starts getting, like, to boil my blood, and I was legitimately screaming at the TV in game two more than game one, where Doc is sitting there, sitting on the bench, drinking his water, talking to Darvin Ham, probably about their dinner plans. He doesn't give a shit. He really doesn't. And I'm pissed off at so many people for this whole thing that it's just really, like, I know I went on a tangent again, but, like, the reporters don't question Doc. The team isn't questioning Doc. The ownership for sure isn't questioning Doc. So what are we doing? This is just the Bucks that we are now. We're going back to the Herb Cole days. Hey, we're glad we made the playoffs with the best player in the entire league. Oh, at least we made it. That's fine. Yeah, fucking Indiana. They should win it. They're great. They've never won it all. And they own us. Thanks for being here. We're happy just to be here. Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's upsetting. It is upsetting that we are doing this during Giannis's prime. End of kind of nearing the end of his prime. We're not going to have opportunities forever. At some point, he's going to be too old. At some point, we're going to be stuck with Kuzma as, like, our best player. So it's unfortunate that we're not making deep runs every year. That's what should be happening. That's what we thought would be happening. 2018, 2019, 2020, like that's what it was. That's what it felt like. Even though we did falter, one or two of those years. Although I think we made second round every time. I don't know. I have to go back. But,
yeah.
We had those wars with Boston, got to the conference finals and then lost to Toronto. We were kind of making steps, and we were always there. We were always possibly going to go to the championship series and having good series against the Celtics when we lost to them, or Toronto. So the past few years, it's been, Miami somehow just crushes us. Like, what happened there? Indiana took care of business last year. It's just like, and now no one's given us a chance this year. And now we're down 0-2, and we look like a team that doesn't belong in the playoffs. They don't look the part right now. So that's one of the more frustrating things. Is just that's why we got Dame. It's like we got to make the most of this. So and now Dame's healthy. We have Dame and Giannis. So it's like we got to take advantage. We cannot waste this opportunity.
We do have good players. I mean, we look as basketball fans and say, like, I don't have glaring holes in this team. Like, maybe I'm too much of a homer that I don't think there's glaring holes. But we have guys that all fit certain roles that should be doing certain parts. I'm going to really double down on the fact that it is this coaching effort that it's like, all of these guys have great roles in certain situations. And the fact that you can't, like, differentiate from that is really bothersome, because it's like you're going to continue to play Brook Lopez, who is a great player. Great player. I like him, and I would love to have him come back on a vet minimum day deal to come off the bench, provide that leadership, to do what he does, less minutes, whatever. I'd love to have him back in that role. But I'm not paying him $27 million a year. I'm not starting him. I'm not doing all that shit that's happening right now. But to look at somebody like Ajax, who's a young guy who can get into Halliburton talking shit at the very minimum.
Yeah.
and annoy the guy, and you don't even consider it. Not even considering. And it's like, it really bothers me in the playoffs where it's the clear the bench thing. This isn't fucking college. This isn't high school. Clear the bench, what does that mean? Who gives a shit? Play these guys in meaningful time and see if it does something. Like, if you're down at some point 25 points, give them a shot. At this point, you're just trying to save face. It's the same thing. You look at Memphis and OKC. You lose a game by over 50 points, and you don't mix up your fucking lineup? I mean, all of these guys should be fired. Here's the problem. The biggest problem in the world, Seth, is we're just not rich enough. We should be owning teams. We would be firing Doc already.
Yeah, that's what we
and
need.
we'd be changing the NBA landscape right now to say you cannot have guys that come in here, act the way they do, and continue to keep their job. We're just not going to tolerate it. I'd rather pay him $40 million to not coach my team than continue to coach it the way he's coaching it.
That's what we need. Yeah. Yeah, well, Kurt brought up the owner a long time ago as the potential problem. What's the guy from Cleveland?
Jimmy Haslam.
Yeah. And I've heard, actually, I heard a couple other people say that. So that's, I think there's definitely some truth to that. Now,
Sure.
It sounded like he wanted Doc Rivers. Sounded like Horst did not want Doc Rivers. How long is that leash? After this season, is he gonna demand that he stay? It's honestly, it's going to be up to the owners if they want to pay, because they're going to have to pay Doc for like 3 more years or something. Anyway, let's get back to the Bucks games. A big problem is the defense, and Brook Lopez, you were just talking about. A defensive, the Brook Lopez, the starting lineup with Rollins was 140 defensive rating. The Lopez with Lillard was 135. So both games were just atrocious defensively with those lineups. And then the lineup that's played the most, Portis, Giannis, Trent, Green, KPJ. That's that lineup that's been awesome, right, for weeks. And now you got Dame back, so you're probably not going to see that quite as much. That is 102.5 defensive rating. They kind of sucked it up in game 2 and couldn't score, so their net rating's actually negative now. But at least they're stopping them on defense. And then the other good defensive lineups have Sims. And Sims should get more playing time here because he can switch better than anybody in terms of the bigs. So I'd like to see more Sims. I would like to see Sims start. We've talked about it. We both like Bobby off the bench. I think he's better that way. That's his role. I don't want to disrupt it. I just want him to stay in his role. He still might play 30 minutes or whatever. But I'd start Sims, and that's going to change so much. Just Sims for Lopez is going to improve our defense significantly. Just do, don't just do that. Do more. But that just seems that seems like Sims should play more. The other thing is the Pacers starting lineup is really good, and switching Mathurin for Nesmith or whatever. Like, they have a really good 5-6, and statistically they have some of the best. 2 of their lineups are like top 5, top 10. Their bench sucks. And statistically it sucks. And it looks like it sucks. Like, how are we not winning those minutes by more? And if our rotations were more in sync and made more sense, I think we might be. Maybe if you had Kuzma in that second lineup and you're not ruining your first lineup, maybe you're actually benefiting both your starting lineup and your second lineups. But it is, in game 2, I think I really noticed it, how we were not winning those minutes against the second lineups with the Pacers. And it's like Ben Shepherd is out there. Maybe he didn't get out there. He was about to go out and then they called him back. But that's another thing that's disappointing is, like, sure, we're losing to their Pacers starters, and I think it's because our lineup sucks, but we got to win those second lineup minutes, and we're not even doing that.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could have a second lineup that's Bobby, Kuzma, and Lopez, which is tons of size, and when the other team is resting, all of a sudden you have, like, holy shit, there's a bunch of big dudes down here. Like, this is going to change the way things are run. And they don't even try it. And I think it's, it's challenging. It's like, to your point, like, Indiana, yes, they have aspects of their team that's very good. But their depth isn't nearly what it used to be. And it just looks like they're just running all over us. I mean, the starting unit gets up 25 points and they can hold on to it, which is really all you need them to do. I think it's strange too, because it's like you talk about Sims. Sims had a hard time with his hands in game 2. He would get rebounds and then he would lose them. And that's the type of stuff that in the regular season, you'd get benched for it. But it's like everything else he was doing was significantly better than Brook Lopez. It's like, that's not the time for you to be old coach and young guy. Well, I'll teach you a lesson. And, no, come on. Like, everything is working better with Sims out there than Lopez. I understand he can't hang on the ball. Like, that's something you got to do. Hang on to the ball. But don't bench him for that. Like, are you out of your mind? Like,
not to mention, Lopez is not getting those rebounds.
No. Yeah.
Like, this is a rebound that no one else is going to get anyways. He was dropping a few of those, but those were all offensive rebounds that we're not going to get anyways.
Correct. They were all offensive rebounds. They weren't defensive rebounds. The defensive rebounds in the modern NBA, you typically have 3-4 guys from the opposing team. That's why defensive rebounds outweigh offensive rebounds significantly. So when you get an offensive rebound, it's a big deal. So Sims getting out there and going after them and having them, for the most part of it is like, have the team be like, okay, when Sims is out there, he is going to get these rebounds. Like, don't go back on defense the way you do. Like, have some other person help him out or something to that effect. No, let's not play with that type of thing. The other thing is, it's like, and I'm going to keep digging in on the coaching. It's like, I don't understand that you have such a short leash with Sims, but Dame coming off of blood clots that potentially could have ended his career. You play, what was it, 37 minutes? Mm-hmm. I was shocked that happened. Like, the rhyme and reason for why things are happening the way they are just don't add up. And I cannot figure out, like, look, we've watched basketball our whole life. We didn't play basketball our whole life like Doc Rivers, professionally and college and coaching and this whole thing. But we've watched enough to, like, how are these things obvious to us? And it just cannot dawn on this guy. I really cannot understand this.
Yeah. The funny thing about Doc is I could see him starting Ajax game 3. Like, that's on the table. Because he didn't play Ajax at all, or Green, to start the season. Then by game 9, Ajax suddenly starts. Then he starts and he only gets 14 minutes a game for like 30 games or something. Then doesn't play ever. Like, is it like, it's just odd. It's so I could see TP not play again this series, which I would love. Which makes sense, but it's just funny how you go, and Rollins, he started for Dame, didn't play game 2. It does kind of make sense, but it is kind of interesting how some guys will start, and then Doc has this weird thing about, well, if you start, then I guess you got to play 8 minutes. But it's like, I can't, if you're looking like your head's not in the game, I can't take you out. I'll call timeout 3 minutes into both the first and third quarters because we suck so much the first 3 minutes of each quarter. But no, I'm just going to run you back out there for the normal
out there again.
8 minutes like we've done the whole season. It's not February. It's April. It's the playoffs. Like, it's just so weird that we're going to stick to this formula. Like, oh, the guys, this is what they're used to. I don't even know what it is, but
if Adrian Griffin was still here, I feel like this would all make sense. This guy just doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he just has to, like, trust his assistant coaches to. Doc has won a championship. Like, he's done it. Like, he's done these things. He knows what he should be doing. I can't wrap my head around these decisions. You should know better. If two guys that have a podcast in Wisconsin can make these obvious things that it's like, we say it before the game, we say it during the game, and we say it after the game. And Doc, like, oh, I never even thought about that. You never even thought about it. Really? You never even thought about it. Like, what are you doing? What are all of these coaches doing? Are you just happy to be there? Is this what it is? I'm sure you were making decent money for ESPN or TNT. It's not like he needed the money that much more. So what are you doing? I don't get it.
Yeah. What do you think about Gary Trent Jr. started the first 8 games or 10 games, whatever it was. Well, I guess we were 2-8, so 10 games, and he deserved not to start. He was not playing well to start the season. He got better and better, and the second half of the season he's awesome. Definitely playing like someone who could start. You would think he's been a starter in his career. It's not like he's like always been a 6-man or something like that. What is it about Trent Jr. that Doc just seems to love him off the bench? And maybe this is a good thing. Maybe there's something to it, but it's just like, just because he didn't start well the first 10 games, like, is that it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I obviously don't understand anything Doc does. I don't get it at all. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because, Trent should have been an upgrade to Beasley in the sense that he was a 3-point shooter that could play better defense, and that's what he should be. We started the season. It didn't work. But, it's like, look, you got to see that, different schemes at different teams does impact the way you play. There's a reason that, Halliburton is better on Indy than he was when he was with Sacramento. He's in a system that makes sense for him. So give the guy a little bit of time to get where he needs to be. Bobby, I think, was starting for Chicago, starting for New York, goes to Milwaukee. They're like, you're better coming off the bench. And it clicked, and I don't know the story behind that type of thing. But I would toy with the idea of Trent starting. I would toy with the idea of Trent playing massive minutes if you don't want to start him. But I don't understand why, especially in an Indiana series, you're not putting either Trent or Green on at all times. Like, either one of those guys has to be out there at all times, because they're better defenders and they're better shooters than TP. Mm-hmm. They complement the team better. But, to the point that you nailed it earlier, like, why would you possibly bench Giannis and Dame at the same time? Well, why would you have Green and Trent sitting at the same time as well? Like, I don't understand what kind of lineups you're putting out there. Like, you don't owe these guys anything. Half of these guys might not even be on the team anymore. So where's this loyalty? Where is this thought process? Like, if KPJ played really well and he's struggling in the playoffs, then you minimize those minutes. Hey, I'll give you 5 minutes and you can earn more. But I'm going to go back to some other people. What the hell did Ajax do that he's completely ostracized from playing ever again? Like, are we really to the point that Ajax is never going to play for the Milwaukee Bucks again? Because it almost seems that way, the way that it's been going.
And it's odd because the problem was his offense. Everyone said he mucked up the offense. He did some weird stuff on offense, I agree, but he did shoot 39% from 3. He could spread the court, and he would take that shot. And I mean, if other teams are going to dare him to shot, I got at least for a season's worth, he was 39%. Last season, he was 37%. So he's not a bad 3-point shooter. Kuzma is mucking up the offense and not shooting as well. And so it seems like the same problem that people are complaining about Ajax and why he's not playing is exactly what's going on with Kuzma. But yet, that dialogue's, I guess it is out there in the Twitterverse. But Doc's not only thinking about, he's not he's not thinking about let's bench Kuzma. He's thinking, hey, let's get Kuzma the first 2 shots of the next game. I mean, he's just complete opposite spectrum of what people are thinking here. We're like, hey, how about you sit Kuzma and play him when Giannis is out? Nope, let's have him take away shots from Giannis and Dame. That's what we want to do.
Who are potential Hall of Famers, top 75 all NBA team. But you know what? Kyle Kuzma deserves it for no fucking reason. He hasn't been with this team. I've known the guy for a couple months.
I wish I had followed his career somewhat. Like, how he looks like a good role player. That's what he looks the part when you watch him play.
Yeah.
He'll make good plays to the basket. He'll occasionally create his own shot and have a great couple baskets here and there. Like he is, I think, a good role player. He's not and doesn't look like and doesn't have the stats for an all-star or a star type of a player. He's not that guy. And he only gets paid $20 million, right?
Yeah.
25 million maybe. I mean, he gets
No,
paid
I think it's
enough,
less than that.
Yeah, I think it's around 20. So I mean, he's getting paid 10, 15 million less than Middleton was. You know, it's not like he was equivalent to Middleton even in terms of what teams thought he was worth. So why it just seems like there is this feeling of Kuzma, like you're saying, like he's the number 3 guy, like as if he's like a big 3 or something. Like he's not that guy. He's never been that guy. He's a role player, and it just doesn't make sense to consistently put him out there starting and like making a point like we got to get Kuzma involved. Why? Yeah. Why? I don't, it's not Dame, it's not Giannis. It's Kuzma. It's like if he's playing bad, you bench him. And you have. That's the other thing. Doc has benched Kuzma. He's had games where he's only played like 20 minutes. He doesn't play like a whole fourth quarter, a number of games. So Doc seems to in game sometimes understand this, but then for whatever reason he thinks against the Pacers we got to get Kuzma going or we're going to lose the series. Like it's just kind of, I don't know how you hold both of those things true.
Yeah, I mean, Kuzma has been on a championship team. He earned a contract with the Wizards, but I think both teams realized that, yeah, you don't build a team around Kyle Kuzma. And I think Kyle Kuzma would be okay with that. Look, you don't build a team around Bobby Portis. You don't build a team around Brook Lopez. These things have been attempted, and they have different roles. Why Doc is in absolute love with Kyle Kuzma? It's not his son-in-law. It's not Seth Curry, like that you're trying to make a thing. That's not like,
yeah.
What is your loyalty? I mean, is it? Are we really starting to look behind the door and realize that like basketball's broken and these owners are like literally like, is Doc going to be like, look, Jimmy Haslam tells me I got to play him, so I got to play him.
Oh man.
Well, shit, that would ruin basketball for me forever. I hope that's not the case. I can't imagine that's the case because other coaches in other cities don't do that. Jimmy Haslam's a little bitch. Like, take your minor ownership and just sit there and don't fuck it up. But you're already doing something by hiring a guy that you shouldn't have hired who had zero interest in coaching again. So you brought him in. Then this guy comes in, and it's almost like, you look back and it's like, Doc, do you remember the regular season? Like you've said, you've benched Kuzma. You've tried lineups where you've had to Ajax. You've had lineups where you've done all these things. Then it goes to the playoffs. It's like, well, I got to stick with what works. Oh, and it doesn't work, but I'll still stick with it though because
we got to double down on it. It's the only chance we got.
If the guy does this, like, I mean, honestly, here's a real question instead of just a bitch session. If Doc comes out with the same lineup for the third game, and then he continues to play that lineup the same way he played it in game 2, and we lose, what is the end game with that? Like, what is your decision if Doc does literally the same thing he did in game 2, 0 adjustments, same thing? What's your conclusion?
I think ego is what it would be. With Kuzma, did maybe, especially with him doubling down on Kuzma after that game 1, maybe he pushed to trade for Kuzma. Maybe that's a Doc thing. Like, hey, yes, I want. Maybe there were a couple options. Him and Horst were talking, and maybe Doc was like, Kuzma's the guy. We want Kuzma. Not these 1 or 2 other guys that we could go for. And so maybe it's ego, and he just can't admit his failure with like Kuzma not being nearly as good as he was expecting. If that was like a big success, then Kuzma would be, everyone would be loving him. He'd be clearly a starter. We wouldn't even be thinking about like Kuzma not starting, and like that. I think maybe that's what Doc had envisioned. This like perfect, let's get Kuzma in. We're going to be fast and athletic. We're going to run up and down. He's going to get rebounds. And it's just not working like what he wanted. and then it's the playoffs. This is what really matters. And he plays 21 minutes and gets no stat at all. It's like as bad as you can play, basically. I don't know how many turnovers he had, but he essentially did nothing in the 21 minutes he was out there. And so I'm gonna say it's ego, and then so not just Kuzma, but I mean actually coming out and rolling out that same lineup, that would be just unbelievable. So I think that would be just ego, like this is it. It's worked all season. I'm not gonna give up on these guys. Maybe there's a little loyalty somewhat to those guys. I'd say a combination of those two things, kind of just like, I'd say mainly really 199% ego.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it wouldn't put past me for him to just stick down and say that, like, he's top, let's just go conservative, top 10 in wins, top 10 in playoff. He's got this coaching record that he's leaning on. But he's only won it once.
Arrogant.
Yeah.
You can't tell me what to do. I've coached, 300 playoff games. I've won a championship. I've done this. I've done that. Like, I know better than you.
Yeah. It's a mentality that is like, just because you've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean you're good at it. That's the problem. I mean, it really is.
Or the
it's
game
like,
passes you by, or you get lazy, or lots of things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could see two dudes that have been like, well, we've been doing podcasts for 20 years. We know what we're talking about. You don't know shit. Just because you did it for 20 years doesn't mean anything. Like, fuck off. I don't want to have to listen to you. Like, things are different. Like, yeah, you did it before. Doesn't mean that it still works now. Like, how many of those coaches on the top 10 list won at your age? How many of them had an all-time player playing for them and you proceeded to fuck it up? Your legacy is going to be as a fucking clown if you don't fix something. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is going to be. Doc Rivers is going to see asterisked by his championship. Oh, the guy, dumb luck, won one. But it wasn't because of him, because of who he got. But if you have, I mean, shit, you got one of the best players in the whole league, and you're ready to go early playoff exits 2 years in a row, and you think you're going to get the third year for it? I don't think so. Like, there's no way.
There's no excuse here because you got Giannis and Dame healthy. Absolutely no excuse whatsoever. If you go out in the first round with a healthy, really everyone is healthy, I think. I think everyone's healthy. That's crazy. You can't come back from that, especially after it's the 2 years you've had, year and a half now. I mean, like you said, you took the job. You were like, you shouldn't hire me. Like, what are you doing? You came in with like not the right attitude. I mean, I honestly, that's like the part of Doc I like, where sometimes he's just too honest. But yeah, it didn't seem like he necessarily wanted. It was like he was forced. Like, I guess you're going to give me $40 million. I guess I'll have to do this. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good hour bitch session. Anything else you got?
I think I'll just end it with, if the Bucks want to go the Lakers route and hire some podcasters to take over their team, they don't have to look too far, because we'll split the coach's salary for sure. We could be Darvin Ham and Doc Rivers, and I guarantee if they hire us next year that we will make it out of the second round. Guarantee. I will give all the money back if we don't.
I back that up. Me too. I guarantee it. And I will give up all the money that I didn't spend.
Well, there you go. Yeah. If I've already spent
that was obvious. I guess goes
what do you
without
want me to do? Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking about a fiery coach, JJ Redick, I saw a clip of him. He called timeout. He called timeout and he just runs onto the court like, Jesus effing Christ, what the fuck are you guys doing? What the fuck is this? He was just ripping into him, and he was like, he walked into the court, kind of like did a loop, kind of like to get his head together, comes right back to the bench and just starts laying into him. It's like, he's got a lot of fire. I kind of like that.
I did. That was the first time that I really liked JJ Redick, for sure. I liked it too, and it was like, okay, you're not just like mailing it in, and which is, look, I didn't give JJ any credit. I just assumed it was like an easy hire, you're just a fill-in piece. But like that was a moment where I was like, all right, I can get behind it. I mean, you're still coaching the biggest baby I've ever seen play basketball of all time, and I don't know how you do it.
Now they got 2 babies.
They do, and it's, oh my God. Like, I saw a clip, too, of LeBron got poked in the eye a tiny bit, and it showed him covering his eyes and then peeking out to find out if anybody was still looking, and it was like, oh my God. Like,
that's amazing.
like, it's one of those things, like, did you ever play, you know, like when you grew up, you watched movies in the 80s or 90s, and it was like these action movies, and it was the guy, you know, look at John McClane. He got hurt, but he just comes back from, you know, he's down, he's shot, he's bleeding, but he still saves the day, right? I think that's what LeBron is. LeBron thinks, well, if I'm hurt or if I'm like, people count me out, you know, and then I come back and win. But it's like, you're LeBron. Like, you tried to make the narrative that people were against you. Nobody has ever been against you. You have never been against. They've only been against you since you've been playing, and people realized you're kind of an asshole, and you're not likable, and then they became against you. But this narrative that he had, which, by the way, drinking game again, Brett going off on LeBron. Drink your drink right now. LeBron is trying to make this mentality of like nobody wanted me to succeed in this league. What are you talking about? Like, this guy's had more hype for anybody to succeed in the history of the NBA than anybody. Nobody's ever wanted anybody to succeed more than they wanted LeBron James to succeed. Turns out he's just a dick. And now we're just like, just leave. Like, get over it. So we can maybe potentially go back to liking you, because the reality is, how the hell does anybody like LeBron James anymore? I'm sorry. He's just like the biggest baby in the world. Like, oh my God. Like, ugh.
Well, the complaining to the refs, is just at an all-time high level with James and Doncic on that team.
Yes.
And those are the 2 worst with complaining and, you know, exaggerating. So I haven't watched a full playoff game yet of theirs, but that's what I'm worried about. If I'm going to watch
for
one
sure.
of their games.
It's too much. LeBron will be on the floor for 5 minutes every game.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. There you go.
Him and Embiid.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll end it with this. Starting lineup. Who's it going to be? I think it's going to be Bobby, because he started games for Doc before. I don't think he's going to go Sims. I think Giannis is going to still start. Then at the 3,
Whoa.
what is going to happen? I think I'll just say what I want. AJ Green at the 3, Ajax at the 2, Dame at the 1.
I would love to see it. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see Lopez and Giannis and Kuzma and Green and Dame. And that's going to be your lineup for game 3.
Okay.
I think that's what you're going to see, because
I think
I might say Trent.
I would say Trent.
I might say Trent
for 2.
Yeah, it might be Trent, it might be Green. I'm gonna cop out and say it's gonna be one of those 2, but I think that's gonna be the only change, because I think Doc thinks Brook needs to start the game. I don't know why. I don't understand it. I think the same thing with Kuzma. Now, Kuzma, we did talk about this a little bit. Kuzma is better starting than finishing. So start the game, start the half. Seems to be the better time that he plays. Lopez, get him some minutes. I mean, look, it's nice that the way that the Pacers play is they shoot a ton of threes and they try to crash the paint. And I understand that's a lot of what NBA teams do, but the Pacers really don't shoot a lot of mid-range shots. They really don't. So if you can prevent that, force the 3, and hope that that statistic change of like, we're not going to always shoot 90% and they come down to 40. Okay, I kind of see it. Let's put out a better scorer out there, and it's going to be Green or Trent, and I think that's what he's going to do. I would love to see him mix it up with Sims or Bobby. I just don't see it happening. Maybe I've just lost all faith.
Yeah, I think you're right about Kuzma. I do think he's going to start Bobby. I think he is. Okay. Maybe I just want it. It just seems so
That would be great.
It just seems Brooks seems like the number 1 matchup problem, I would say, more than TP. So that's why I think he's going to go to Bobby. But, you know, we're going to be wrong. I don't know. Who knows what it's going to be. Maybe PC starts. It's possible. Okay. Subscribe and rate us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Email us at doubledribblebucks@gmail.com. Let's get a playoff email. And follow us at Twitter. Well, we have been more active on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at PodDDB.
And we'll be back in 1 week.
We're going to be back next week. Hopefully, this series is still going at that time. I think it will be. I picked Bucks in 6, and that's still on the table. So that's what we're going for here. Bucks in 4.
My sweep is off. Yeah,
It's not going to happen.
No, that's
but
not
now maybe a new sweep right now.
Yeah,
From here on,
there you go.
Sweep.
From now on, Bucks sweep. Starting now.
Starting now. All right, go Bucks.